The final screen in our app is the checkout view, and it's really a tale of two halves. The first half is the basic UI, which should provide little challenge at this point for you, quite frankly. But the second half is all new. We're going to encode our order object to JSON, then send it over the internet and read a response somehow. We'll look at the whole encoding and sending part soon enough. First, though, we're going to tackle the easy part, which is actually giving checkout view a meaningful user interface. More specifically, we'll add a scroll view with an image inside, plus total price of the order, and a place order button that'll kick off the whole networking side. For the image, I have uploaded a Cupcake image to my server. We can load remotely using async image. And yeah, of course, we could store it in the app, be fine in the app here. But having a remote means we could dynamically change it out for some seasonal alternatives, marketing campaigns, promotions, whatever. So having it remote is actually quite a helpful thing. As for the order cost, we don't actually have any pricing for our cupcakes in our data. So we'll just invent one, okay? And it's not like we're actually going to be selling cupcakes for real here. And so the pricing we use is fairly straightforward. We'll say there's a base cost of $2 per cupcake. We'll add a little bit more to the cost for more complicated cakes. We'll add extra frosting at $1 per cake, and then extra sprinkles will be another 50 cents per cake. That's our little cost structure here. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up in a new computed property in our order class over here. We'll say our cost. Now, how I'll tackle this is carefully. I've told you in the past briefly that data like numbers can be done with a double, and that's okay. But ideally, we don't use that. Ideally, if you can, use a decimal instead. Decimal works much, much better. So I'll say here that our cost is a decimal rather than double. It's much more accurate than double actually is. So our base cost, $2 per cake. We'll say our cost is our quantity times 2. Now, quantity is an integer. This has to be ultimately a decimal. So we'll have to do some careful typecasting as we go. We'll say decimal quantity times 2. We'll then say that complicated cakes cost more. So we'll say our cost plus equals the decimal of our type divided by 2. So type, if you remember, is that integer number we had earlier. It's that way for a reason. So 0, 1, 2, and 3. So when we have expensive ones like rainbow, it'll cost more. Half of the type. Then we'll say we have $1 per cake for extra frosting. If extra frosting, then cost plus equals decimal of our quantity. And then we'll do 50 cents per cake for the sprinkles option. Sprinkles. There we go. So if add sprinkles, then cost plus equals decimal of our quantity divided by 2. And finally, return that final cost back. Boom. So decimal, not double. Ultimately, the reason is behind the scenes, decimal uses integer mathematics. So it has, if you have like 10.50, the 5 is stored its own number. The 0 is its own number. It's integer down the line. So we can have extreme accuracy. Never ever lost with rounding errors and weird double behaviors, because double is naturally a bit unsafe. You can lose certain kind of numbers. Decimal does not. It's always accurate to a T. So it's great for money. Anyway, that's our little property here. The actual view is straightforward in the checkout view here. I have a VStack inside a scroll view, then our async image, then our cost, then a button to place the order. We'll fill in the button's action in a minute, but first we'll do the basic layout. So let's ditch this current text hello world and say instead we've got a scroll view with a VStack inside, then our async image. Now this thing has a URL of URL string, the image from my site, https://hws.dev/img/cupcakes at 3x.jpg. The 3x there's a bit of a key. This has a scale of 3. Then give me the image in. And we'll say straight away, the image should be resizable and scale to fit. Then the placeholder, oops, with a colon indeed, will be a progress view. And the frame height is 233. Trial and error, that's a nice height for our image here. Then below the async image, let's start our preview off by the way, will be a text saying, as our picture, your total cost is, I'm going to use order.cost. Now, this thing you can see it's complaining a little bit. It's like, well, how do you handle order.cost? This thing wants to know how to format the number. What is this thing? If you remember, cost is a decimal, not an integer. It's got to be handled carefully. What should this thing be done as? And there's a whole way you can customize this. You can do the format should be, .currency code USD like that. Give me this thing as $6 exactly, and it'll take care of the right dollar sign, the right number of decimal values and so forth, decimal places automatically. So just saying that is enough. I'll then say we have a font of title, because that's obviously very important. There we go. Then a button saying, oops, sorry, scroll down slightly, place order, and the action from now will be an empty closure. Like do nothing at this time, with a little bit of padding around it, like that. Then we'll add a navigation title down here of checkout, and a bar title display mode of dot inline. Boom. That should all be old news for you, apart from perhaps where we handle doubles, but even that's very straightforward. But before we leave the screen, I want to show a small thing here. If I run the code back again, and I'll just go straight to delivery and enter in just A to get checkout. Boom, we're in here. There's our picture loading nicely. And you can see I can kind of scroll around a bit. Using scroll views is important because it makes sure our layouts work great no matter what device the user has, and more critically, no matter what dynamic type level they have. If they have extra large fonts enabled, your beautiful layout might not fit anymore. Having a scroll view means it'll just flow further down. You're going to scroll, even the really large font sizes. However, in a small view like this, it's a problem because you can scroll around even though there's nowhere to scroll. It clearly fits in the screen. Helpfully, SwiftUI's got a modifier just for this called scroll bounce behavior. This lets us disable the bounce when there's nothing to scroll, like here. And so I'll say for this whole scroll view here, you have a scroll, hopefully, there is scroll bounce behavior of dot based on size. So it bounces when its content's large enough to require scrolling, but only then. With that small change in place, I can go back in again, delivery details, and again, and A, checkout, and now no bouncing. Of course, you add more text and more stuff, it'll start bouncing automatically. With that last tweak out of the way, we're going to finish up this project with the hard part, networking.